Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for driving here out of your way. I really appreciate it. I know it's time taken away from clinical time and all the things that you have in your schedule already. So I really appreciate you coming on over and taking an hour with me this morning. For anybody that I have not officially met, I'm Jen Bach. I'm your Chief Clinical Officer. Very excited to be here today for just a little bit of time for us to connect. And it's kind of fun to see all of you come together from all kinds of different places in which maybe you haven't seen each other in a while. I've seen some hugging and some hi, which is great, which is part of why I really wanted to do this live today, is to bring you all together. For those of you who may have been here long enough prior to the pandemic, we used to do this pretty regularly, have business meetings and come all together and talk about what's happening across the organization. It's been a while since we've been able to do that, and so here we are. And this is the 6th meeting of our clinical update and our final one today. So I walked in this morning and I said, what is different? And the difference is they took the front row and put it in the back. Nobody likes to sit in the front row. So, all right. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about why we're here this morning. So we're here to connect, as I shared already. We are also here to talk about what's going well. So we'll spend a little time doing that in a minute. And then I'm going to talk a bit about the vision for clinical services. And what you're going to hear this morning is not rocket science. It's not, oh gosh, this is so new. But it's just put all together. It's just packaged all together. And we're going to talk about why. Why are these pieces important? What we're not going to do is roll out anything new. So I'm not here to tell you to do something different. I'm here to share some information with you and tie it into our strategic plan. Sound good? Cool. All right.
This is more comfortable.
So when we previously have done business meetings, we start our meetings by talking about what's going well. You all are so busy in your day-to-day doing. This is an opportunity for us to just pause and reflect and talk about what's happening that's going well. So this is the portion of the morning in which I turn it over to you. So I'd love to hear from you what's going well. Anything that you want to share, gratitude, success stories, whatever comes to mind.
I'll share.
Yeah, please.
Hi.
Hi. Can you say who you are for the group?
Yes. My name is Lauren. I work from the Mosaic team, the adolescent IOP. And I think what's going really well is how nicely our team is getting along and working together. Kristen is like our newest addition, and I just thoroughly love having her and co-facilitating with her. Yeah, I think our team is like close to family. I think we're doing great.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Lots. What else is going on?
My name is Tamara. I work in Child and Family Services. What's going well is after a period of unstable leadership, our leadership is coalescing, very professional, doing some great work, and in particular bringing a lot of wraparound services, which I more. Absolutely. That's been super helpful for me as a clinician, serve my clients, jumping in switching.
Good. Great. Thank you for sharing, Tamara. That's great to hear. Yeah, please.
I just want to share, I actually started here just a tiny, like 2 months over, and then I was kind of April because I loved it so much. And now I think the most amazing thing is the Hunting Branch office is one place and that's a bit quieter there, but the Sanford office is flourishing. The best part of it is getting to learn about everything holistically, because you start off and you just learn little bits and pieces, and like even with therapists that work with the nurse, it's just like, because I have so many questions, and my background wasn't in psychiatric nursing, but everyone is so willing to educate. It feels like, it's like a very, like a teaching environment, which then makes it feel like a welcoming environment. So that's amazing.
Thank you for that feedback. That's great to hear. Kudos to all of you for that. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
My name's Alexa. I'm the team lead for our Acton Active Team teams. And I just wanted to say that the staffings for the new outpatient internal transfer and discharge process has been really, really helpful. Going both directions, accepting clients and transferring down. So staffings have been going really well.
I love to hear that. There was a lot of work from your leadership team to help with that, so I'm glad to hear that feedback. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
On the administrative side, I am really grateful to those who manage our grants and contracts, and they send me ridiculous data points on a monthly basis without complaint. Thank you for that. Greatness.
Yes, and thank you for putting all of that in a document so we can manage all of that. It's a lot of work all the way around. Else? Yeah, please.
I'm Tony, I'm with the early childhood team, and I just wanna say, like, our admin has been great, I agree. About like listening to us, I feel heard, I feel like our voices are heard when we bring things up to them. But I also feel like everybody in our building is collaborative, like I feel like we're really a team. And I don't think that you can provide a better atmosphere for clients than that kind of atmosphere.
Amazing. You guys, I have goosebumps. We're gonna talk about that. So nice segue. Good. One more. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Julian on the Ingredients team, and I've been in the IFES contact group for the last 7 or 8 weeks, and it's going great, and I love it, and it's I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Everybody know what IFS is? Internal Family Systems? Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So I like to start with mission. This is why we're here, right? This grounds us in why we're here, to nurture growth and recovery by caring for each other. Put your oxygen mask on first so that you can care for the community and we can care for our future together. If we're not okay, it's really hard to show up and be there for other people, right? And we do that with compassion, care, and connection. I get to hear those stories, even though I'm not with you all the time. Believe me, I get to hear the stories of the good work that you're doing, and it's all with compassion, care, and connection. And what you're talking about this morning when you're sharing kudos are more examples of compassion, care, and connection. Our racial equity statement, we recognize systemic injustice and accept our responsibility in dismantling systems of oppression. Building a brave space that cultivates an inclusive employee environment and a focus on culturally responsive care. So all of these are just reminders about who we are as an organization to just set the tone for our conversation. All right, so vision for clinical care. Why are we talking about this? So that we have a common language and a shared goal, right? To prepare for our future. And I want you all to feel, if you don't already, excited and proud of the work that you do and why we're doing it and for whom we're doing it, right? We want to feel good about that. So I heard some chuckles at the Mayo Clinic, and so I'll tell you a little bit of a story about that. So Mayo Clinic, it's kind of a placeholder, but we all want to work for the best organization, don't we? Okay, good. So a friend of mine was diagnosed with breast cancer it's been about a year and a half now, maybe a little bit longer. She went into the clinic where she lives in South Dakota and didn't get great care. When she spoke with them about her prognosis, it was kind of unclear and not really hopeful. When she tried to get a sense of what care would look like, again, not clear, kind of disjointed, communication was tough, and she wasn't feeling very confident. So gratefully, she has family in Arizona and was able to travel to Arizona for a second opinion at the Mayo Clinic. Her experience at the Mayo Clinic was very, very different. She was introduced to a team of professionals, and that team knew their roles and how that work fit into her overall treatment. They were clearly able to say, prognosis looks good with this treatment. This is what we're recommending. This is how long it's probably going to take. And then every time she came in for an appointment, the person she saw last and the person that she was seeing that day were able to talk about how they had discussed her care, how it was progressing. And as a result, this is the next step. Here's the data that shows things are getting better. Right, and here's what we're doing next. That's very different from, well, we think we might do this, right? So we want to be number two. We want people to come into the community because they know we're going to take care of them. They're not just a number. We know what we're talking about. We can help them feel better. Because I don't know about you, but when I get a diagnosis, I want to know, how long is it going to take for me to feel better? What's the best treatment? What are your recommendations? Okay. The folks that come to see us, they want to know the same. All right, so that's the why. Let's talk about the different components of it. Providing exceptional customer service. So as I go through this, I'm going to talk a little bit about why these things feel important if we want to be the best. But I'm also going to talk a bit about the strategic plan. We are a year into our strategic plan, and I'm sure all of you have heard a little bit about some of the goals and things that are happening. It's a very ambitious plan, because we're a very ambitious team and a very ambitious organization. And as I mentioned, we want to be the best. So you probably have gotten energy grids and the email, and you look through that and you're like, okay. What does this really mean? So I want you to leave today to understand how it fits in to all of you, because without you, we aren't here. We don't exist. Okay. So that's the other objective that I didn't mention that we're going to talk about. Okay, so we all know customer service is important. Let's take a moment and think about a time where you felt seen, heard, valued, and connected as a result of exceptional customer service. Might be hard to remember. Sometimes it's hard to find. Anybody have an example of exceptional customer service?
I just recently, Southwest Airlines has been having all these crazy delays. Back in April, my son was booked on a flight on Southwest Airlines from Chicago to Denver. And we had a layover in Dallas, because it was 5 hours. No, Southwest, somewhere he has a layover. So the flight was delayed, and they, he was going to miss his American Airlines to Denver, and called up the Southwest Airlines. Had a special event going on. I said, my daughter already was canceled the flight back in December. That has been through a lot with you guys. We stuck with you because you've always been amazing, but this might be the final straw. And she really listened to me, and she said, I'm so sorry. This is because of the weather, but let me see what I can do. She looked and looked and looked, and she said, there's a flight tomorrow. And I was like, that's too late. And I said, can you book him from St. Louis? Because he lives halfway between St. Louis and Chicago. And she said, well, we're not supposed to do that. However, let me look for you. I didn't have to ask my manager. I didn't have to ask the supervisor. I didn't have to do anything. She really listened and said, these are the things I can do. She took care of it. She was just like saying, "Please, good job on it." And I don't know that people realize how much that means. About her amazing review on their Facebook page. And she called up and talked to the supervisor and gave her feedback.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's a great story. How did you feel? How did that leave you feeling?
I started off feeling really angry.
Sure.
And by the time I was done, I told her, I said, I wish you were standing next to me because I would give you a hug. And then I did
Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes people coming in our front doors, calling on the phone, are afraid, they're anxious, they're unsure, right? So our work is to set that tone for them. Creates conditions for connection. People don't just feel like a number, right? When we care for them, they feel like we're really listening and we really care. And they'll come back. They'll stay loyal, they'll come back. It removes barriers because in the end, we're just human. Doesn't it feel good when we connect with others? We want to do that again. Connection feels good, right? That's part of the psychological safety piece that we all talk about as teams, is coming in and feeling like we belong here. And we want our clients to feel the same. Oh, we have one more. Okay. So a couple of things in relation to strategic plan for you to know about here. One is we know that what we pay attention to matters. What we measure makes a difference, right? We have started, thanks to Sheena Binder and a team of folks, a customer survey. So at the end of each of your sessions, folks will be sent through Yossi 2 questions. How would you rate your visit today? And would you recommend someone to All Health Network? Pretty simple, but it gives us feedback. We've had a pilot that's going that's been amazingly positive. And when people score above a 3, they have the option to go to Google and to leave a Google review. So take a look at Briarwood, 5 stars. So we're capturing those voices, which is pretty cool. And then if it's less than 3, it's routed internally. So it gives us an opportunity to talk with people to do better with our customer service, right? So that is one key initiative. It is been in pilot status, but it will be across the organization by beginning of next month. So just something for you to know about. Additionally, for folks that are answering phones, for our care support staff at the front desk, for folks at the ACC, they've had some ADIT training. Anybody know what ADIT is? Very simple. It's acknowledging. Hi, Daniel. How are you today? I'm Jen. I am going to take care of you for a few minutes while you're waiting for your appointment with Dr. Bali. When you see Dr. Bali today, she's going to review your medications with you, make sure everything's going okay, renew any prescriptions that you need, and change medications if that's something that you agree upon today. So she'll be with you, like I said, in about 10 minutes. We're so glad to see you today. Thanks for being here. You'll probably do that, right? Maybe not exactly in that order, but essentially that's ADIT. Acknowledge, introduce, how much time, what's going to happen, and thank you. Pretty simple. But yet can really put someone at ease. So just a couple of things. We talked about team-based approach. I heard from a couple of folks how they feel like they're a part of the team and how important that is. How many of you feel like you work as a part of a team? Yeah, that's a lot of hands. That's exceptional. We are a community mental health center. So one of the beauties of a community mental health center is that you do have a team behind you, regardless of what your role is within the organization. It took a village just for today. Our learning and development team helped you all get signed up. Our amazing Stephanie Ashen team helped you all get scheduled. Then Lori helped record, make sure that PowerPoint was up and that I had a clicker, like a whole team behind me, just to be able to say, hi, let's talk about, so it takes a village. Why is team-based care important? Right, so as clinicians, you all want to do what your role is. You want to be able to work in your lane. And you want to know that when your client needs something else, you can refer them to somebody else who has that expertise to pick up that piece, right? And then together, the person's getting exceptional care. In the example I gave with my friend, understanding who her team is, how they fit together in her care, made her feel cared for, made her feel confident. And I'm sure each individual who gets to work in their lane feels more confident too. Level of care tool used to assign a care pathway. How many of you have heard of the LUCAS? How many of you have heard of the CANS? Excellent. Okay, good. So that means that word's getting around a little bit. There's been a lot of work done in this space as far as how could we implement level of care tools when folks are coming into the organization. So the LOCUS is for adults, the level of care tool for adults, and the CANS is a needs assessment for children and adolescents. Okay. So this is a major strategic goal for our organization. We have a team of folks that have been working specifically on the LOCUS, and this is what they say as to why this is important. It helps manage and frame length of stay. Remember that whole conversation about how long is it going to take you to feel better? The LOCUS can help us, the CANS can help us have those conversations at the start of care. Now, we know in our profession that that's not perfect, but it's a place to start. I bet pretty much everybody in here who's done clinical work has had conversations with clients on both sides of this. We've been doing this for a while. Things are getting better. I think that you can do this without me. What do you think about seeing each other less frequently? Or what do you think about ending therapy? Or what do you think about stepping down from therapy? Right? The other side of that is, you're still really struggling. I'm really worried about you. This great program, this depression IOP program, and oh, by the way, the outcomes are phenomenal. People are feeling better in 6 weeks. When we get that data together, I think you do great. I think it's a great opportunity for you. When we have data, along with our clinical intuition, our clinical knowledge, it can be really powerful to have those conversations with clients. Level of care tool is just one opportunity. We'll talk about measurement-based care too. If I'm not feeling better and I'm not feeling better and I'm not feeling better, it's scary. You don't have to raise your hands, but I bet there's some of us in this room that have felt that way before. I got in a car accident several years ago, and I had a concussion, and I wasn't getting better, and I wasn't getting better, and no one could tell me when I was going to get better. And so I'm thinking, am I ever going to get better? Like, is my brain ever going to work again? I laugh, but it's scary, right? Our folks may feel the same, right? We provide quality care working in the space in which we have the most expertise, and then everybody wins. So more to come on the locus. Some teams have done some piloting of this already. Some of you on the child and family teams have done some work with the CANs already. So more to come on this. This one's kind of a no-brainer, but I have to mention it. We're talking about being the best, right? We got to talk about evidence-based care because we want to provide the care with the research behind it. And we do. We do that across the entire organization. We have some programs like ACT, for example, that's a fidelity-based program. Our depression IOP is a fidelity-based program. We measure effectiveness of that curriculum. Our ASCENT team, our IPS, Supported Employment team, our fidelity programs. So we look at outcomes of those programs and make sure that we're following the models. And then there are things like IFS, Internal Family Systems, and cognitive behavioral therapy, and those things that you all are doing every single day. And why is that important? Right? This one speaks to my heart space. Let's create programs to people that need it, regardless of where their backgrounds are, their ability to pay, their insurance. Everybody deserves, as a virtue of being a human, the best care available. So utilizing measurement-based care tools to measure care effectiveness. Hopefully you all have at least heard about this thing that's called measurement-based care. And when we talk about the locus, measurement-based care is another piece of data. It's intended to give us some feedback about how things are going with the client. An example of how we're using this now is with the PHQ-9 to measure depression. And we do a baseline, and then we're able to see how things are going throughout the course of care. It's meant to be a tool to sit with a client and show them, and you can see in SmartCare by scale. So for example, we can look at someone's sleep and see, wow, it's really not great. And oh my gosh, it's getting better. Treatment's working. That's great feedback. It's super powerful to be able to share with the client in a moment. As is, oh, this was a goal and things aren't getting better. What's working? What's not? Should we try that depression IOP, right? So what this is not a measure of you. It's not about that. It's about feedback in the room to help inform care and help people progress through it, right? So why is this important? It supports our clinical decision making. So the example that I shared before and having those conversations, data along with your expertise can be really powerful. Employees work in their area of passion, skill, and expertise. You spend a lot of time at work, right? We are here at Community Mental Health Center because of something that has meaning to us. Otherwise, you wouldn't work here at the Community Mental Health Center. I'm pretty sure of it. Because it's really mission-driven work, right? And it's tough work. I want you all to come to work every day and love your job. I love it here. That's why I've been here for, 18 years. And I've done a lot of different things here. And each time, in each role, I've gotten to learn something new or give back in a different way that fills me up. And that's lucky. I feel really a lot of gratitude for that because not everybody has that. But when you all get to work in a space that you love and you show up every day and you're like, I like this work. I mean, it's tough. There are days that are difficult, but overall, I feel really good about being able to do it. Everybody wins. You win, the organization wins, the client wins. If that's not true for you, we have 600 plus seats on this big bus of All Health Network. I bet we have a spot that is in your wheelhouse. And so be thinking about that too. We can always change your seat if it's not quite the right fit. So this is also important. If we want to be the best, we want our staff to be happy. We want you all to stay. We want you to do the work you love. I think this one is tough. We use our full network and continuum of care. We have 41 programs across the organization. We have 12 locations. We have 400 FTE clinical and medical staff. Do you know when I started, there were 68? Just saying, back in 2004. I've seen a little bit of growth here at All Health Network. But we're big. And so one of the challenges that we're constantly faced with as a leadership group is how to help you all learn about all the different programs and stay abreast of all the different programs that we have. That great process for the internal transfer discharge is wonderful when you all know where to refer clients. I bet sometimes that's hard because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing it across the board. And I just have to share one story from the ACC. They said, oh my gosh, think about ACC, so our bridge house, the whole campus actually, are fielding calls all day long, people coordinating care because they serve the whole Denver metro area, the whole state, really. And somebody called and said, I'm on the ACT team and I'd like to coordinate care for such and such person. So they're looking for a release and they're looking for a release and there's no release. And so they're like, sorry, I can't share information, but they didn't realize it was our internal ACT team, right? Because how would they know? It's hard to keep track of everyone's name. So that's just one example. So we are continuously trying to figure out how can we help you all stay abreast. So we had this fantastic idea of putting on the internet all of the programs, everybody that works in the program, when there's capacity, can we get someone in a group? I'm like, that is amazing. Who's full-time job? Anybody have an intern? If you have any great suggestions, I would love to hear them because it's a challenge. The bigger we grow, the harder it becomes. But why is this important? Why do you guys think this is important for our clients? What about this helps us be the best? Lisa?
We can provide the right level of care at the right time.
Sorry. Something about that. That was cool. Right? So clients can step up and they can step down. And remember when we talked about the team-based care and working in your lane? When you have clients on your caseload that are struggling with social determinants of health, whatever that looks like, housing, job, food on the table, super hard to do this and focus on my depression. My depression might actually get better if I find a job, right? Or if I, whatever I'm worried about, find a place to sleep, right? That might help my symptoms just in and of itself. And so being able to rely on a continuum of care and a team of professionals that can help really helps everybody. It helps you feel less stressed. You're getting to work in your lane. Clients are meeting with the right people to help them progress through care. Oh, that's fast. Okay. So I think this is an opportunity for us. You don't have a specific strategic goal, although I will say this. Always thinking about how do we create a continuum of care. That's always what is in my brain. So when we brought on the mobile response unit, we also brought on the PATH homeless outreach team. So the mobile response unit, most of their calls are individuals who are homeless. They can treat, in place, make a connection, and hand off to our homeless outreach team who can do more ongoing care and try to get people into care. That's the beauty of community mental health, is that we can offer continuum of care so that people can get and progress and feel better. All right. Key community partners and family are a part of the care team. right? This is really important and sometimes a challenge. Why is this important? This has been up here a lot to support your clinical decision-making. It's not that whole team-based care. It doesn't have to just be all about you, but it's about that whole team together, right? Family, whatever they mean, have so much information that they want to share. They want to share, most of them, right? They want your help. Sometimes you're like, okay, you can stop sharing now. I mean, let's just be real. However, they can also be the biggest support out there for some of our clients. Building community promotes recovery. Helping people build community outside the community mental health center helps in recovery, whatever that looks like for the individual who's at the center of their care. And you're not going to work yourselves out of a job, I promise. There's plenty to go around. There's a lot of work that we have out in our community. We need you all constantly, so no worries for that. But helping build their community helps them recover. Right? We're a specialty care provider. We fill gaps. So does primary care, so does the Brain Injury Alliance, et cetera, et cetera. And so understanding who our community partners are and how to help fill gaps for clients provides them that holistic approach. Okay. So I'm sure that most of you, many of you in the room, have had that moment in which you've discovered the person that you're working with is also getting that same service somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So, important to try to get releases of information. And sometimes you try, but it doesn't, you don't find out right away. But that's another important piece of connecting it. Health equity. So DEI, our DEI initiative is about taking care of each other. It's about belonging. It's about psychological safety. It's about, feeling like you're just as important as the person next to you, wherever you are and however you show up, you can just be you. Health equity is about our care for our clients. So we talked a little bit about social determinants of health improving outcomes already. That's a key initiative. It's being piloted right now with our hospital step down team. So, can anybody hear from our hospital step down team? Okay. We've expanded that team. I want to make sure that you all are aware of that. That's happened just in the last 3 to 6 months. What that means is we're able to get people same day of discharge appointments from the hospital. They do that through Zoom calls. The cool thing that they're also doing is instead of talking to the social worker to get Joey his appointments, they're actually talking to Joey. So they have got they've got that meeting with Joey. Joey's able to say and talk about social determinants. What might get in the way of you attending your follow-up appointments? What's important to you, Caleb, in your care? Right? Not what's important to me in getting those appointments scheduled, but what's important to you and how do we match you with what you need? And if I can't get you scheduled for 2 weeks, I'm going to maintain that connection once you leave the hospital. So I'm going to come see you. So now we have 2 people that can go into the community and see folks as well. We've been able to move the needle on 7-day follow-up post-hospital discharge from 29 to 50%. That's in the right direction. One of the things that's happening right now, which I'm super proud of, and this started in one of our DEI committees and it's been going on for quite a while, is how do we collect data about who's coming in the front door? How do we collect data about you and me too? Because it's antiquated. So we have collected data about, I keep wanting to say social determinants of health, and that's not what I mean, demographics, social orientation and gender identity. We collect data because the state says this is what you need to report on. I went to Arapahoe County Board of Commissioners to present a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things I had to present on was our data, and I put it up and I promptly said, I know this isn't great data. This data doesn't really tell us much of anything. It tells us who's male and female and if you're white or non-white or Hispanic or non-Hispanic, and that's kind of it. It's not great, guys. But I did say, we're gonna do better. We've got a plan, and we do have a plan. So this team that has been working on this project has said, okay, so we know what the state wants, we'll just put that over here. But what do we want? How do we collect that so whomever comes in the door sees themselves on that page? And they can check a box that tells us who they are, which gives us very rich information, right? About who are we serving? How does that match with our community? What training do we need? Who do we need to hire? It gives us a lot of information. Language is another one that we'll be looking at. You all will have an opportunity to sign up for some health equity training with KP. KP is a national consultant, and he's working with us as well. He's going to do some small group trainings. So 3 came out, and I think they were filled within, an hour. I don't know, very quickly. So more to come, but you all will have that opportunity coming. Technology. Technology is a large conversation right now. Technology is our future. I mentioned that you're never going to work yourself out of a job. There's plenty of people that are looking for behavioral health. And for fun, about a week ago, I put mental health behavioral health therapists in a search and Indeed, and 739 jobs came up. So there's a lot of need. So, recruit your friends into the field. If we continue to do individual therapy, we're never going to meet the need. If the community's vision of behavioral health services is one-on-one therapy, and that's what they come in asking for. But what they don't know are all of the benefits from group therapy. Coming into a group, seeing that you're not the only one that's struggling with these symptoms is super powerful, right? I'm sure some of us have had a similar experience in which we feel like, oh my gosh, this is so unique to me. And then we find other people in the world who have had similar experience, and it's really validating, and it can be really healing. So changing the conversation about groups is going to be really important for our future, but also leveraging technology. So NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, did a survey a few months ago with some of our folks in the community with severe persistent mental illness, youth, and family members. We gotta love kids, right? They're going to tell you what they need. Just ask them. And they said overwhelmingly, what we want is self-management tools. So continuously looking for apps that can help offset the work that all of you are already doing in between sessions. So reducing redundancy. I'll share an example of a 14-year-old who was trying to access care because they were really sick and beginning to experience psychosis. So this kiddo went to Aurora Mental Health and had an intake at Aurora Mental Health. In the course of the intake, Aurora said, actually, you live closer to All Health Network. I think you need to go there. So kiddo, woohoo, transfer styles, because we never worked fast, so that's okay. And meets criteria for our first episode psychosis program. However, the 14 state says 15 for this program. So we had to get a little bit of a permission to allow him to come into that program. He was seeing a psychiatrist in the community, so we got to get records transferred to the community. He had to tell his story about 8 times in the course of this. Right? Because there's a gap in our community and our medical record doesn't follow us. So this kiddo was in crisis. Police came to his house twice in one night, once because he had a knife and then he had a machete. He wasn't doing well. Police didn't feel like they had the information they needed to do anything at that time. He spent the night, the parents, spent the night behind a locked door. So he gets up the next day, guess he's doing okay, well, might as well go to school. An hour into school, and right? School's not a good place for him. School doesn't have all the information, so what do? They call mom. So families in the middle of this, kiddo's scared, right? I mean, he's scared and he's sick and he needs help. So leveraging technology to try to help solve that. There's a project called Bright. I want you all to know the name Bright. Bright is this conceptual idea right now. Okay, I know, you can all see it. We want to build something that will help close that gap. We have the expertise through Tony Baruti and through her work at the state level to understand what's happening in bringing data together. For the medical side, we want to do the same thing on the behavioral health side, and then work with our community partners to create something in which this kiddo wouldn't have to tell a story 8 times. That's just a little example. We tenaciously work together to serve our community, to be the best behavioral health provider for our community by focusing on the core areas in which our system needs improvement. That's how our strategic plan is built. And these are the things that we're working on internally and in the community to try to solve. The one I just shared, right, you're probably thinking, HIPAA, 42 CFR, how do we get through these things? Well, we're gonna figure it out. We don't have all the answers and it's not a quick fix, but there's a lot of interest in the community to solve this right now, and we wanna be at the table to do that. So leading advocacy efforts for individuals with severe persistent mental illness. I have an email box folder that's full of stories of the struggles that you all are having with helping folks. We know that we don't have enough hospital beds in our state. The hospital beds that we do have at Pueblo and at Fort Logan are primarily been turned to be used for competency, so for judicial folks and restoration. It's very hard to get people who need it longer stays in the hospital. So what tends to happen is they tend to go and cycle through emergency rooms and short-term hospitalizations. And I see heads nodding. It's really difficult, right? Then in 2020, with the death of George Floyd, there was legislation passed, Bill 2217, which was meant to end police brutality, right? To provide additional protection for people who are at risk. An unintended consequence of that is that police are not able to enter a person's home without a search warrant. For good reason, and an unintended consequence of that is that it's difficult for us to enforce certifications. It is a challenge that we are talking about with all of our community providers at all levels. We are trying to put our heads together to figure out a way through this. And it's a challenge, but I'm telling you what, we're not gonna stop because we are a safety net provider and our charge is to help those individuals who are sick, the sickest folks. And so the good news is that we're taking a collaborative approach to this and working with law enforcement and working with the judicial system to figure out how do we make this work given the current climate and the current legislation? I think it's important for you to hear that because I know how hard you're working on behalf of those individuals on a daily basis. We talked about measurement-based care. I want you to know what value-based care means. I've had some people ask me some really great questions about value-based payment. What does that mean? How does that impact me? So a year ago, Colorado Access works with us on the behavioral health plan for Medicaid. And they said, we like working with you. We'd like you to do a pilot with us. And I said, cool. I'd like to go first. Yes, please. Because when we go first, we get to test it out. So we did. We had to test it out last year. We had 3 measures. One is the 7-day follow-up that I already shared with you. The other is screening at intake, ensuring that we're doing a suicide screen for everyone that comes into intake. And if they screen positive, then we have a safety plan in place. So those 3 metrics, we tested out the first year. There was money attached. So if you get, I said we want to be the best. So like 99% or 100% on the safety plans. But I think safety plans are pretty important when we're talking about that population. We get X amount of dollars in addition to our regular contract. Over time, our regular 1/12 funding will go down and our earned value-based payment will go up. As a result of that first year of the pilot, now all the community mental health centers that work with Colorado Access get to do what we started. So yay, let's go first. So that's what's happening with value-based payment. I fully expect that those measures are going to change. They're going to grow over time, but that's where we're at right now. And I just want you guys to know. We talked about the demographic project. I talked about Bright. Ooh, there you go. I guess we're done. Just joking. What questions do you have for me?
So when you talk about Bright, is the idea of this to be something similar to Epic? Or like, what do you mean by what that looks like?
Yeah, so we are creating a data warehouse right now that's integrating all of the different social determinants of health data, pharmacy data. It'll have demographic data. It'll have clinical data in it. So that then we can design perhaps an app that can pull some of that aggregated data together to help tell the story of people that we're serving. Then if community joins along with that, it can also be a way for us to see Johnny's involvement at X, Y, and Z location. So when he shows up at school already knows Johnny's struggling. Law enforcement might know that they were at Johnny's house where he was recently on hold. So those types of things to try to aggregate data that tells the story of the person as they walk through the world.
Is that just for residents of Colorado to begin with?
Yes. Yes.
That feels a little big brothery.
Oh, well.
How do we protect that?
Yeah. It does feel a little bit brothery. I didn't mean to point it that way, right? That wouldn't be the intention. Just the intention would be that if I signed a release of information because I, want people to have my medical record if I show up in the ER or whatever, then I could do that.
That sounds like it would be something for people with certifications specifically.
It would really help people on certifications, absolutely. Yeah, it's an opt-in, not an opt-out. And a lot to figure out, right? I mean, it's conceptualized at this point. Yeah. Did you say it sounds like? Would you say it sounds
Oh,
like?
it says like it's like Facebook. People,
Oh.
if you
No.
make it look like Instagram, people will be like, because we really do that.
That's so fun. That was not at all.
We can just like scroll something or here.
Oh my gosh, I love that people read these.
Well, we do it every day anyway.
We do, but not with like a board.
No,
Oh, maybe. All right, like taking it off. Like take it. That's awesome.
Hopefully it'll be more like Spokorio.
That's what I was hoping you said, is it's kind of like Korea, right? It's been done kind of on the medical side, but now we're doing it. Yeah.
Real grand.
It's kind of genius.
With like the outside of things, maybe
Oh, yeah, seriously. You guys are awesome, yes, please.
We're looking at demographics, I'm just curious, I guess I'm planting a seed at this point.
Yeah.
When we have families, let's say single mom, 2 kids, works full time, very limited on being able to get their kids into therapy,
Right.
but has grandparents and sister who can help with that,
Sure.
versus split parents. One has a major health problem and can't drive, other works till 5, cannot take time off, has 5 kids, and they have no support system.
Yep.
And the only appointment they can take is after 5 o'clock. I think that needs to be a very important part of the conversation when you're looking at the demographics, because transportation and support systems and how we're balancing that is huge, and I'm seeing a big pattern with my clients of the people who want late appointments versus the people who can have them, and book and being so booked out that the people that need them are having to wait a month or so because the people who want them are pre-booking. If that makes sense.
It makes complete sense to me. It makes complete sense to me. And part of what I didn't say, we're thinking about Bright too, is some opportunity for a patient portal. So for people to be able to be in the ER before they leave the ER, they have an appointment with us, even though it's 2 a.m, right? They're able to get in and schedule that appointment. I know that's not what you're talking about, but it just made me think of that.
Right.
I agree with you. I think, again, understanding the demographics and the needs of our community helps us to serve them better. So I really appreciate that comment. I want to be very respectful of your time, because I know you all have a day that is beyond just this hour this morning. So I want to just say thank you again for being here. I really appreciate seeing you. And thank you.